So where have you traveled?
Where did I travel?
Yeah, I know you went to Alaska just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Would you go there again?
Oh, in a minute.
In a minute. So was Alaska or Hawaii your favorite outlying
I
state?
think Hawaii was.
You think Hawaii was?
Alaska.
Now, Shannon, did you live there? You did, right?
4 months.
4 months, okay.
We were on Kauai, I think. Is that the name of the island? That's where we were. Alaska's a wonderful place to visit. But I wouldn't want to live there.
So you want to move to Hawaii? We can hook you up, Grandma. But you have to take us with you.
I remember that plane flight. Sitting there by the window, and I could see the lights way out on the tip of the wing. Just moving there, and it had a little screen there in front of us showing us the airspeed. We got up to 687 miles an hour.
Yep. And it was a long flight, so he would get up and walk around, and everybody was doing the same thing. We all just kept walking around and walking
Had a center aisle, double seats in the center aisle, and seats, double seats both outside. That was good.
It was a good trip. Yeah, I've got a good picture of you and Alan with your sunglasses on leaning against the Jeep, our Jeep that we drove around in.
Right.
It is the cutest picture. That's one of my favorites.
Well, Alan really took care of us.
He
I
did.
really appreciated that. He rented a Jeep and we drove all over that island. We went as far around as on one side, the mountains cut us off. We had to come around and we went around the other side, same mountain.
Yep.
Drove out through that sugar cane field.
Grandpa stole a pineapple. I thought they were going to put him in jail.
I paid for that. But they set up, I guess, market days out there. And they would announce where they were going to be, and you were there, and you couldn't buy anything until they blow the whistle. They'd blow a whistle and everybody would start buying. Well, some fella had to stand the pineapples out here on front of him, and back of him he had to pick up blow. And I went around the back and got one off that pickup. He said, "You weren't supposed to get that." I said, "You got a price out there?" And he said, "Well, go ahead and pay me. I don't know, it seemed like 75 cents. I guess that's
Oh, really?
Pretty much.
Wow.
That was a pretty good buy. He picked the best one off that truck, I think.
Yeah,
It was really good.
I kind of called him a little bit.
That was good.
He had them loaded up. He's going to take us some grocery.
Yep.
He took out some of his culls and put them out front on the table. They were good pineapples, but they wasn't near as good as them ones you had in the truck.
How about, your coughing reminded me, how about sicknesses? You were talking about your grandparents. Did you say they died of a flu epidemic? The flu?
Yeah, Mom and Dad's parents, they died of the flu epidemic.
Flu. So my other diseases that have you ever seen other diseases like, just disappear or anything? No? I guess we've seen new diseases come.
Died with cancer.
Who did?
My grandma on my mother's side.
Really?
Did anyone have like polio or anything?
No.
Do you remember that?
Cancer was more prevalent in Mom's family. Her mother and 2 brothers died of cancer.
Really?
Dad died with heart trouble.
Were your parents strict when you were younger? Were they strict parents or were they pretty?
Yeah, they were. I never got a whipping but one time in my life. And it wasn't very hard. We'd have to go stand in the corner.
Okay, time out. They had time out. What did you do to get a whipping? Do you remember?
We milked a bunch of cows. Dad told me to go get the cows. Well, I didn't want to go. So I went to drag him and poke him along. He grabbed up a corner store. Well, about the only time I ever remember my parents laying a hand on me.
Did you have to whip your kids very much, or
Do what?
did you whip your kids very much?
Too much.
Too much?
I bet Mom never got a whipping. Did Mom ever get a whipping?
I don't, yeah, I bet she did. Her parents were probably stricter than mine. Well, you talking about, I was saying about Corina.
No, my mom.
Hey.
I don't ever remember whipping her. I whipped Ed and Tony.
It's Ed and Tony. Did Jeff ever get a whipping? The baby?
You were wore out by
I
this,
don't
brother.
know.
He's the baby.
He needed some.
So what's your best parenting advice?
Parents get that. Have good communication with your children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Be there for them. Whatever.
All right. Anybody got any more questions?
Just be sure that they know you love them.
We love you.
Remind them of that, huh?
Your grandma told you to do this. She's gonna have me, Grandpa.
What year were you born? What year were you born?
1915.
So you saw World War I. Do you remember?
Barely. They said when I was a kid, we lived close enough to a railroad track that you hear a train pushing. They said I would cry. I said, there goes another load of poor boys.
So you remember World War II, obviously.
World War II, Pearl Harbor, we were visiting at my youngest sister's parents. And I said, I wanted to, Ed was baby. Interview. Yeah. I wanted to enlist. Mom, Rena said, if they need you, they'll come and they'll get you. They never did need me. I went to work right here in Nautico, there, Lockwood, Ohio. There was an airplane engine. We were the men behind the guns. Just about 3 months or so before the war was over, they reclassified me and put me in 1A. That made me eligible for the draft. And the day the news came to the factory that the war was over, I just started second shift. Everybody we went home, they was dancing in the street.
I bet.
So was there in the newspaper, did you have newspapers with all kinds of like the propaganda? Like did you have a part of any of that? Did you read that kind of stuff?
You usually just read what they published in the newspapers. They would keep pretty well up to date on the war news. I guess, like they were in this last war, they're slow about announcing how many had been killed. That seemed to have been the problem this last war. They brought them home after dark, landed planes somewhere after dark, and they'd unload the bodies, take them to their families home. But they never kept us informed on how many was killed and whereabouts. That's our government.
Speaking of government,
can be very secretive if it wants.
yeah. Have you written any letters to the editor recently?
No, honey, I'm so shaky that I can't write. When I work crossword puzzle, the lines go down like that. Louise, I said, I bet you on the crossword puzzle got them pretty wavy lines.
Yeah, I know a lot of people enjoy them. People tell me all the time that, I read your grandpa's letter. I read your grandpa's letter.
A few times I'd like to write a letter.
Did you ever think you'd see a black president? Did that really surprise you, or did you see it coming?
know, you black. It did surprise me, but I voted for him.
Yeah, I did too.
I've been a party voter ever since I voted nay. Dad told me when I was a kid, said, son, said, I want you to take notice. When the Republican Party is in power, control Washington, said the rich get richer, the poor get poor. And that's been my experience.
Now, Grandma was a Republican, wasn't she? Did that cause some fights, or was that fun?
No, I think finally got a registered as a Democrat.
How long did it take to convert her?
But a little while. Louise is worse than she was.
Oh no, you got your work cut out.
I'm about to quit trying.
Can't do that.
Give up.
That's funny. What was it about Grandma that attracted you?
Somebody the other night, I said, I'm indebted to the Democrat Party for our Social Security, our Medicare, and bank failures. There hadn't been a bank failure since Roosevelt was elected. So many different things that I owe the Democrat Party for. That's the way I vote. Now, locally, I vote for the person.
Right.
But nationally, I vote for the party. And I think the old smart, you'll do the same thing.
There's some political advice.
What was it about Grandma that attracted you to her?
Oh, she was so pretty.
So pretty. Okay. I wondered what it was.
Now, did Grandma only have one sister, Nina?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one brother, her brother was here. Yes, he's gone now.
All right. They want to say bye.
Hugging goodbye. We love you. We're sorry to interfere.
The brothers? Yes, I said. What was his name?
I'm trying.
I can't remember.
What was Grandma's brother's name?
What?
What was Grandma's brother's name?
That died.
Eugene?
No, the one that
No,
died.
the one that died. I know that one. Did she have a brother that passed away?
Yes, she lost, I guess it's about 3 brothers, but I don't remember what their name.
Albert. Was it?
Albert?
Albert was her stepdad.
Oh. Okay. All right.
I hope we can come up soon.
Hey, right away, well, be sure to come back next year.
It's been fun.
I know I still have it.
Another song for us next year.
Nice to meet you.
We have to learn another verse. Yeah, glad you came.
Right. And your sisters were Ella, Alma, Bertha, Catherine?
Not in that order.
No. Who was the oldest?
Ella was oldest, and Bertha.
Ella, Bertha.
Then I was born, Catherine, and then Alma was the baby.
She was the baby. All right. She's the one that was in Las Vegas, right?
What?
She's the one that went to Las Vegas, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay.
They said she served Red Fox at their
Really?
place she worked at.
Have you ever been to Vegas? Did you go see her in Vegas?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody, I think it was Kathy, your daughter, called us and said Alan was in the hospital. And me and Ed went out there and went to the hospital and inquired about her. They said she was released this morning. So I called Kathy, your daughter, had her Alma's apartment. She said, Uncle Coleman said, just wait there and I'll come and get you. We did, and we went to Alma's. I think it stayed 2 or 3 nights. The doctor had come in and examined her that morning and felt around her. Thought she had gallstones. And he said, I don't like what I'm feeling. And they did a biopsy and she had cancer of the liver. And he told her, he said, how many, she had 6 weeks of me. He said, you'll live about 6 weeks. So me and Ed loaded up a lot of her personal things on, I had a pickup truck.